sometimes the smallest act of courage can change the course of 1,000 lives. Nobody in the dusty town of Riverside could have imagined that a barefoot, hungry 12-year-old boy, sleeping under a bridge, would one day unite an army of bikers with tattoos, scars, and steel hearts. But that's exactly what happened when a homeless kid named Tommy stepped in front of danger to save a man who looked like the devil himself, only to discover that angels sometimes wear leather jackets. If you think one kid can't change the world, stay with me until the end, because this story will make you believe again. Riverside was one of those forgotten towns. Cracked sidewalks, flickering streetlights, and an air thick with quiet hopelessness. Under the old steel bridge by the train tracks, a boy named Tommy, just 12 years old, had made a home out of scraps, a tattered blanket, an old backpack, and a piece of cardboard that read, "Will work for food." Tommy hadn't always been homeless. Once, he'd had a mother who hummed lullabies and a father who promised better days. But when his dad passed away from an accident at the steel plant, everything fell apart. His mother lost her job, the bills piled up, and one cold winter night, she didn't wake up. Since then, Tommy had been surviving, not living. He was small for his age, with messy brown hair and eyes that still carried a faint light of hope, even after all the storms he'd endured. Every morning, he scavenged behind diners and gas stations hoping for leftover bread or a kind soul willing to spare $1. But most people just walked by. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky orange, Tommy wandered into Mac's Diner, a small roadside place known for attracting rough-looking bikers. He pressed his face against the glass, watching a group of men in leather vests laugh around a table. The patch on their backs read Hell's Angels Riverside Chapter. The boy wasn't scared. He'd seen enough of life to know appearances didn't always tell the truth. He was just hungry. When one of the waitresses caught sight of him, she frowned. "Hey kid, you can't stand there like that. Go on." But before she could shoo him off, a deep voice called out, "Let him be." The man who spoke was tall, broad-shouldered, with a thick beard streaked with gray and a scar running down his cheek. His name was Bear, the president of the local Hells Angels chapter. He motioned for the boy to come in. "Hungry, kid?" he asked. Tommy nodded, hesitating. "Then sit. You don't have to beg here." That night, Tommy ate more than he had in days. Eggs, fries, and a burger so big he couldn't finish it. The bikers laughed as they watched him eat. They weren't saints, but there was something about the boy, the quiet resilience in his eyes, that hit them right in the gut. When he was done, Bear handed him a few bills. "You got somewhere to go." Tommy looked down. "Under the bridge." Bear sighed deeply. "You ever need a meal, you come here. Tell him Bear said so." Tommy nodded, grateful beyond words. For the first time in months, someone had treated him like a person, not a problem. But fate has a cruel way of testing the good. A week later, Tommy was sitting outside the diner humming to himself when he noticed a group of local thugs, the kind that preyed on the weak, surrounding Bear in the parking lot. They were young, angry, and stupid, trying to pick a fight with the wrong man. But Bear had a bad leg from an old crash and was outnumbered. Before he knew what he was doing, Tommy ran forward. "Leave him alone!" he shouted. The gang turned, surprised. One of them laughed. "What's this? A hero?" Tommy didn't back down. He stood between Bear and the men, trembling but firm. "Go away," he said, voice cracking. He didn't do anything. The first punch hit him hard, a grown man's punch that sent him sprawling. But Tommy got back up. Then another blow. Blood ran down his cheek. He still didn't move. Bear roared in rage, grabbed a pipe and swung it, sending two of the attackers running. But by the time it was over, Tommy was on the ground, barely conscious. The story of the homeless boy who saved a Hells Angel spread like wildfire across Riverside. People whispered about it at the diner, at gas stations, even at the barbershop. Within days, every biker in the region knew the name Tommy. Bear called for a meeting at the clubhouse. The old warehouse was packed. Rough men with scarred knuckles, women with kind eyes, and chrome bikes that gleamed like mirrors. When Bear told them what had happened, silence fell over the room. "He took a beating for me," Bear said, his voice cracking. "For us. A kid with nothing gave everything." One of the bikers' tank slammed his fist on the table. "We ain't letting that slide." Another said, "We take care of our own." By morning they had a plan. The next day, over 1,000 Hells Angels from across the state rode into Riverside. Engines roaring like thunder, chrome flashing under the sun. They weren't there for vengeance. They were there for love. They stopped at the hospital where Tommy lay recovering. The sound of engines rumbled through the halls as nurses and patients peered out the windows in awe. Then came the moment nobody would forget. Bear walked into Tommy's room, holding a brand new leather jacket. It was small, custom-made, with a patch that read, Hell's Angels Honorary Member, Tommy Hart McGill. Tommy's eyes widened. He could hardly speak. "This is for you," Bear said. "You've got more heart than most men I've ever known." Tears welled in the boy's eyes. "Does that mean I'm one of you?" Bear smiled. "You always were." The angels didn't stop there. They raised money. Not hundreds, but tens of thousands of dollars. They bought Tommy a small home, filled it with food, clothes, and school supplies. Bear even got him enrolled in a local school. The story made national news. People cried watching the footage of the 1,000-biker parade escorting a small boy home. When Tommy walked through the door of his new house for the first time, he turned to Bear. "I don't know how to thank you." Bear put a hand on his shoulder. "You already did, kid. You reminded us what it means to be human." Beneath it, a quote in bold letters read, "Kindness is the only patch that never fades." If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Story Sphere, because sometimes one act of kindness can change not just a life, but an entire world.